Let me paint you a picture. It's a Tuesday night. You've just finished work. You're exhausted in that specific way where your body is tired, but your brain won't stop. And somewhere between making dinner and scrolling your phone, a thought creeps in. A familiar one. It sounds something like this. I just need to earn a little more. Then I'll start saving. Then I'll get my act together. Then things will be different. And here's the thing. That thought feels completely reasonable. It feels responsible, even. Like you're being patient with yourself. Like you're being realistic. But what if I told you that sentence, that one quiet thought, is one of the most financially damaging things you'll ever believe? Hi, my name is Alpha, and in this video, we're going to explain why so many people believe this lie, how it quietly keeps them stuck, and what actually changes your financial future. Not because you're lazy, not because you're bad with money, but because it's a lie, a very convincing one. And millions of people have spent years, sometimes entire decades, waiting for a version of their life that never came because they believed it. Let's talk about that. Most financial content will tell you the problem is that people don't know enough. You just need to learn about index funds, or compound interest, or the 503020 rule. And look, that stuff matters. But knowing information is not what keeps most people broke. What keeps people broke is a belief. One that lives under the surface, that never really gets examined. It's the belief that time circumstances have to change before behavior can change. Read that again slowly. Circumstances have to change before behavior can change. It's the idea that you'll get serious about money times when you earn more. You'll start investing times when the timing is right. You'll build an emergency fund times when things settle down. You'll stop living paycheck to paycheck times when life gets a little easier. And this belief is incredibly common. I don't say that to make you feel better about it. I say it because I want you to understand that this isn't a personal failure. It's a psychological pattern that almost every human being falls into at some point. Behavioral economists have spent careers documenting it. They call different versions of it things like future self-discounting or present bias. But in plain English, it just means our brains are genuinely wired to treat our future selves like strangers. The version of you 6 months from now, your brain doesn't fully feel that person as times you. So making sacrifices for them, saving money, investing, saying no to things today feels less urgent than it logically should. That's not weakness. That's just human neuroscience. But understanding it is the first step to not being controlled by it. Here's how this actually plays out in real life. Because this isn't abstract. Imagine someone, let's call her Maya. Maya is 28. She makes decent money. Not great, but decent. She pays rent, covers her bills, keeps the lights on. And every month, right around the 25th, the account gets thin. Not empty, but thin. She tells herself, once I get that raise, I'll finally have room to breathe. Once I'm making more, I'll start putting money aside. She gets the raise. She's thrilled. She deserves it. But 3 months later, the account still gets thin around the 25th because her spending quietly expanded to meet her new income. A nicer apartment, eating out a bit more, a subscription here and there. Nothing dramatic, just life, slightly upgraded. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it is one of the quietest financial traps that exists. It doesn't feel like a mistake when it's happening. It feels like enjoying the fruits of your hard work. And you should enjoy your money. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for that. But the trap is believing that more income will automatically create more financial security. It doesn't. Not without intention. Maya isn't irresponsible. She isn't reckless. She's just been waiting for an external condition, more money, to solve what is actually an internal pattern. And here's where the math gets quietly brutal. Let's say Maya is 28. If she'd invested just $200 a month starting that year, by the time she's 58, just 30 years later, at an average 7% annual return, she'd have around $220,000. From $200 a month, but if she waits 5 years to start until 33, that same $200 a month grows to only about $150,000. She loses $70,000. Not because she stopped investing, because she waited. The money she was waiting to have was already there. It was just being allocated by default instead of by decision. That's the lie's real cost. It's not dramatic. It doesn't happen all at once. It just quietly compounds in the wrong direction. And it's not only about investing. The same belief shows up in debt. People tell themselves they'll deal with the credit card when they have more to throw at it, so they pay the minimum. And the interest keeps growing. Slowly, steadily, invisibly. The problem doesn't stay the same size. While you wait, it gets worse. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. The conditions you're waiting for are never going to arrive, not in the way you're imagining. Not because life is cruel, but because the way your brain works, the goalposts will move. When you earn more, your baseline shifts. What felt like enough to start becomes the new floor, and you're back to waiting. The people who actually build financial stability, not the ones who got lucky, not the ones born into money, but the regular people who quietly changed their trajectory, they didn't start when it was easy. They started when it was slightly uncomfortable, because they realized something important. The behavior creates the conditions, not the other way around. Read that again. The behavior creates the conditions. You don't save money because you finally have extra money. You have extra money because you made saving the first thing you do, not the last. You don't get out of debt because you suddenly have more income. You get out of debt because you make it non-negotiable, even when it means saying no to things that are genuinely tempting. This isn't hustle culture. This isn't cut your coffee and become a millionaire. I'm not asking you to suffer. I'm asking you to stop treating your financial life like a someday project. Because the version of you that's going to start when things are better, that's not a future version of you. That's a fictional character. And you've been writing their story for long enough. So what does this actually look like in practice? It starts small. Genuinely small. If you have never saved consistently, start with whatever you can automate right now. Not what feels significant, what you can set and not notice. $20 a paycheck. 30. Whatever doesn't make you panic. The amount matters less than the habit. Because you are not just saving money, you are training your brain to be someone who saves. That identity shift is the real win. Automate it. Remove the decision entirely. Have it transfer out the day after payday before you have a chance to spend it. This is what behavioral economists call pre-commitment. You make the good decision once, and then you don't have to fight temptation every single month. If you have high-interest debt credit cards, personal loans, just pick the smallest one and put anything extra toward it. Not because it's the most mathematically perfect strategy, but because momentum is real. Paying something off feels like proof that you can do this, and that proof matters more than you think. If you don't have an emergency fund at all, let that be the first job. Not investing, not paying off every debt at once, a buffer. Even $1,000 changes how stress hits you. It means a car repair is an inconvenience, not a crisis. It means you don't go deeper into debt every time life surprises you. These aren't glamorous moves. There's no viral moment here. But they are the unsexy foundation that everything else is built on. And if you're looking at this thinking, okay, but I genuinely don't have anything to work with right now, I hear you. There are real situations where the margin is truly zero, and I'm not dismissing that. But for most people, there's at least some small space in the budget that's being filled by friction or habit rather than genuine need. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is to start finding it. I want to leave you with something that I think gets missed in almost every financial conversation. This isn't really about money. At its core, it's about the story you believe about yourself and your future. The lie, the one that says you'll start later, when things are better. When the timing is right, that lie is comfortable because it protects you from a hard truth. That you have more agency right now than you're using. And that's uncomfortable to sit with. But here's the other side of that. If you have more agency than you think, then things can actually change. Not because a raise lands or a lucky break shows up, but because you decided that's not a small thing. That's everything. And you don't have to have it all figured out today. You don't have to overhaul your entire life this week. You just have to catch the lie the next time it shows up. The one that says, I'll start when. And instead, start with what you have. Right now. Imperfectly. Because progress, quiet, unsexy, consistent progress will always beat the perfect plan you never actually start.